Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Professional Nomad Podcast. I am your humble host, Stefano, and as always, thank you for joining me this evening. If you are able to catch the live stream, if you're watching this on the replay, thank you for checking us out on the replay as well. We got a good one today, and we're going to get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Man, unless you've been living under a rock, you don't know what's going on with P. Diddy. And now allegations have been made against his son as well. So we're going to get into it. Man, your boy on here looking rough because I'm about to grow my beard back out. Well, I'm thinking about growing it back out, but I might cut it off. I don't know. It's summertime coming. I don't really want to deal with all that. But once again, we got two videos we're going to do reactions to, blind reactions to. One is going to be talking about the new lawsuit that's coming against Justin Combs. I mean, not Justin, Christian Combs, P. Diddy's son. And it's a hard pill to swallow, to tell you the truth, because they're coming at him from all different directions. First, P. Diddy, now his son. And they're claiming that the allegations are false, but you don't have to be the determining factor on that yourself. We also got a video that we're going to do a reaction to from none other than Nancy Grace. She's on the P. Diddy case as well. And if you know, like I know, once Nancy Grace gets on the case, I hope you got good representation. That's all I can tell you. Because she's going to have everything lined out. She's going to have her facts in order. She's going to have everything, all the T's crossed, the I's dotted. Everything's going to make it look like you're the bad guy. So you want to make sure you're checking it out. And for you to be able to do that, make sure you're subscribed. So before we get started, let me go ahead and make sure to let you know that you need to be subscribed. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit the notification bell, okay? Hit the notification bell before when we go live, you'll know about it, all right? And if you're not subscribed, you can't hit the notification bell. So hit the subscribe button. If you're watching this on the replay, hit the subscribe button. We need to bring in as many nomadic mindset people as we can to this destination, to this channel. And when we do, we can build our own community. And that's what the purpose is here. Now, I'm not going to do too much talking, but we're going to get right into the first one, which is the video talking about Christian Combs himself. So let's talk about it.
New audio has surfaced as part of a lawsuit that accuses Christian Combs, Sean Diddy Combs' son, of sexual assault. The music mogul is not accused of sexual assault in the lawsuit, but is included over allegations of liability and aiding and abetting. The lawsuit cites audio from a makeshift recording studio on the yacht where the alleged assault happened. This is the latest in a series of lawsuits filed against the rap mogul and businessman. Both men, father and son, deny the allegations against them. CNN national correspondent Camila.
Now, what happened is what they're saying is that Christian has assaulted a lady on the boat, on the yacht, in a makeshift studio. In some kind of way, the entire thing was recorded. I don't know if it was recorded by the young lady who was assaulted. I don't know if it was recorded by some studio equipment that was left running. I don't know how they recorded it, but they got the recordings. And it's not looking good. Now, of course, they're going to fight it because they want to make sure that they protest and defend their innocence, which everyone is innocent until presumed guilty. But this does not look good because now it looks like your seed is evil. It looks like your son is following in your footsteps. Not only do you have issues with women complaining about assault, it's assault, things of that nature, but now your son does too. And it's like, well, he learned it from you. He learned it from you. Gracias la quina. Bienvenidos. So he learned it from you, from being around you from all these times. And it's going to be a lot of damning things they're going to say in this little interview right here. So I want you to make sure you pay close attention to this. So let's get back to it.
Bernal joining me live with details on this. Camila, what more are you learning?
Hey, Fred. So in this audio that CNN has listened to, you can specifically hear the accuser who alleges that she was being forced to take this tequila shot that she believed was laced with drugs. And in the audio, you can hear her asking Christian Combs if she was being drugged. And he answers, take the shot. Now, just to put things into perspective, the accuser...
So hold up. He asked her. I mean, she asked him, am I being drugged? Evidently, she knew something about these parties. Evidently, she knew something. So she flat out asked him, are you trying to drug me? And the only thing he responded by saying was, take the shot. Like, she didn't have another chance, other choice but to do it. Now, the average person is going to say, how, because more than likely this person that was working on the ship is older than Christian Combs, right? They're older than Christian Combs. And you should feel like some sort of authority figure over younger people. So a lot of people are going to say, how could you let this happen to you? How could you let this little boy force you to do something you didn't want to do? And it goes to the whole point of men being able to overpower women. She was put in a compromising position because she was out in the middle of nowhere on a boat. What was she going to do? Jump off the boat? Who was she going to tell? So before everybody starts saying that, I want you to think about that. Who was she going to tell? Who is she going to go to? Puffy? She going to go tell his daddy? Yeah, right. No, that wasn't going to happen. Then you also got to ask yourself, where did he learn this behavior? Because this is a learned behavior. Where did he learn it from? Okay? He learned this behavior from somewhere. He had to see this being done, practice in front of him. Where did he get this from? If these allegations come out to be true. And you know they're going to point the finger right at Diddy. So if these allegations come out to be true, then they're all going to be in trouble. Let's get back to it.
Was a crew member on the yacht. She was a bartender, and she says that shortly after this incident with the shot, she says she was cornered in a room. She says things became aggressive and physical, and then says that Christian Combs forced himself on her, and then says that it wasn't until another employee on the yacht came into this room that the abuse that she is alleging in this 31-page lawsuit stopped. And she says it only stopped because that person came in into the room. Now, I want to read part of what the accuser's attorney.
So he made her take the shot. And when she took the shot, started getting a little aggressive, a little pushy, a little chippy. When he did that, whatever was in that shot was starting to kick in, and she was about to be defenseless in a defensive situation because she was in a room by herself with Christian, and someone just happened to walk in the room. If they wouldn't have walked in the room, this would have been a totally different story, allegedly. Now, it's odd that all of these people are coming out of the woodworks at one time saying something about this. But I mean, it's hard as a assault survivor to speak your mind. I'm not one. I don't know any, but I've heard stories, and I've heard how difficult it is for them to speak up and voice their story because they just want to move on and not be shamed or have people try to throw it in their face. What did you do? What do you think you could have did to avoid this situation happening to you? What do you think, do you think you did anything to entice him? I mean, these type questions get thrown at the victims, especially in certain cities or states that don't really protect women like that, right? And if you think about it, at the number of people who have came out against Diddy makes it hard for you not to think something happened with this person in the son, because it's like, okay, well, the son is starting to pick up right after his father. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Like I just mentioned, guys, press that subscribe button. We just crossed the 200 subscriber mark. Thank you to everybody that has subscribed to the channel. We are growing. We are growing, and we want to continue to keep growing, guys. Thank you so very much. I am very happy that you are tuned in and you are watching, even if you are not even subscribed yet. Go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We are growing over here. That just lets me know we are getting to the point to where people are starting to pay attention to what we're doing over here, and we need more people. Share videos. Tell your friends about the channel. Tell everybody to come over and check us out. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Let's figure out how we can work together as nomads all around this place, around the world. We need to do more collaboration. We need to do more networking, and we need to keep it going. All right. Gracias la Aquina. Let's get back to this video.
Attorney is saying right now. What he's saying is defendant Sean Combs turned what was sold as a wholesome family excursion into a hedonistic environment. It resulted in an unexpected increase in workload for her and for her colleagues, as well as unwanted exposure to unlawful drug use, sex work, and general chaos. Now, why are they naming Diddy in all of this? And it is partially because he was leasing that yacht. Now, he is not accused of sexual assault, but he is accused in this lawsuit of liability and aiding and abetting because he was the one renting the yacht.
So even if you don't do anything, you can still be held liable. All right. If you are throwing a party at some establishment, let's say you rent a building, right? Let's say you go rent a building and you're promoting this party and your name's on the flyer as the promoter, right? And everyone comes, the place gets packed and it's jumping. In the back, someone gets hurt, right? They don't have to go after the person who hurt them. They can go after you. You are liable. because you created the environment for this to happen. Now, a good lawyer probably get you off, but most people can't afford a good lawyer in this economy. Everybody don't have P Diddy money. So I know a lot of people who promoted parties and clubs. I've had a couple myself here in the Nashville area. Rented out a couple clubs. You have a bunch of people come, pay security, pay a couple of artists to perform. You get the door, boom, make some money. Wash, rinse, repeat, right? Cool. That's cool. But if something happens, you can be held liable. Same way that they're trying to hold Diddy liable for what his son did, allegedly, on this boat with this stewardess, bartender, whatever name they want to call it. The same way that they're trying to hold him accountable for that, you can be too. So, like I always say, I always got to keep a professional mindset. You always got to keep yourself in a situation to where you don't have to put yourself to where you have to explain things. You don't have to explain anything to anybody. If you do things the right way, you don't have to explain things to anybody. There are rules to the game, people. There are rules to the game, and you have to follow them. You can only break the rules and make it in this thing so long before it catches up to you. Look what's going on with Diddy. Look what's going on with his son. All right? You ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till we get to the Nancy Grace video. All right? I'm not going to do a lot of talking. We're going to get right back into it, okay? This is horrible because this makes him look like a bad father.
His attorney, or actually the attorney for both men, also speaking out and denying these allegations, saying this complaint is filled with manufactured lies and irrelevant facts. We will be filing a motion to dismiss this outrageous claim. Again, they have continued to say that this is something that they will fight, that they are innocent in all of this. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out in court, if it gets to court or if it gets settled at some point, which has been the case with a previous lawsuit. But again, we'll have to wait and see what happens as Diddy and his son continue to say they're innocent, and the victims here continue to say that they were sexually assaulted, Fred.
And so while music mogul Combs isn't accused of sexual assault in the lawsuit, he has been accused of a range of sexual misconduct in other separate lawsuits. How might that play into this?
Yeah, as I mentioned, one of the lawsuits was settled, but there are others that are currently pending, right? And so there's a lot of the details.
Now pay attention to the timeline. Pay attention to the names that are about to appear on this lawsuit right here.
That we've learned, and attorneys say that there's audio and video of these alleged crimes, or at least some of the alleged crimes. You're seeing some of those cases there. The one with Cassie was the one that was settled, but there are other ones that we'll still have to wait and see how they play out. And of course, we all saw just last month as Diddy's homes in both Miami and Los Angeles were the target of a federal investigation, and we saw that all play out on video last month. But again, it's important to point out that Diddy continues to say that he is innocent. They said this was a gross overuse of military level force, and they say that he is innocent and will continue to fight to defend his name, Fred.
All right, Camila Bernal, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, this video that Nancy Grace has put together, very damning. Very damning. And like I said, once Nancy Grace gets on you, it's pretty much over. I hope you got good representation. You're going to need it. All right. Now, she's put together a panel of experts, and they're going to go through here and they're going to talk about this. Okay. They're going to talk about what's going on and when they expect Diddy to be indicted and how soon it's going to come. All right. So we're going to get into that video right now. Share my screen and let's get to it.
Whatever you want, when you want it, how you want it, where he railed now that take them onto seas outside of U.S. jurisdiction in the international waters. And important from my perspective right now, surveillance cameras. According to sources, there are literally hundreds and hundreds, if
Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. We're having a little technical issue.
not thousands and thousands of hours of surveillance video of Sean Combs and his staff committing wrongdoing. This, while one of the most iconic music figures in our lifetime, Sean Combs, has issued a statement where he rails about character assassination and how he has been mistreated. Let me tell you, as a crime victim myself, he doesn't know his rear end from a hole in the ground. If he's talking about his character assassination, with me, an all-star panel to make sense of what we know right now, but in the face of an expanding, a widening sex traffic investigation, I want you to take a listen to our friend Dave Mack at Crime Online.
Sean Combs, his girlfriend at the time, Jennifer Lopez, and rapper Jamal Shine Barrow were involved in a fight that included shots being fired at a New York nightclub in 1999. One of the victims of the shooting, Natanya Rubin, has claimed all along that Sean Combs shot her, not Barrow, and she's willing to have doctors remove a piece of bullet that is still in her face to prove it. Shine Barrow took the heat for the shooting and goes to prison for nearly 9 years, while Combs is acquitted of 4 counts of criminal possession of a weapon and bribery. Lopez was never charged.
So, what does that mean? That means this lady got a piece of evidence in her face. And she's held onto it this whole time, never tried to have it removed, right? This whole time she's claimed that Diddy was the one that shot the gun in the club, not Shine. Okay, now they're about to reopen the case. Not to try to convict Diddy, but just to look at the evidence, right? I don't know why they're going to do that unless they're going to try to add it on to his new supposed case. It's probably something that the Southern District of New York is looking into, because allegedly they're saying that they have something they're trying to prosecute him on too. So they'll be the ones who would actually perpetrate digging the bullet out of this lady's face. Okay? Like I said, there are rules to this. And you can only get away so long with doing this. There are rules to this. Rules. There are rules to the game. And if you break them, you pay a severe price. You might be able to skate along for so long doing what you do, but sooner or later, it's going to catch up with you. You better believe in karma, because karma is real. All right? Now, I'm not wishing bad on anybody. I definitely don't want to see anybody get assaulted in any kind of way, especially not S assault, no grape, no drugging, any of this, right? As I covered in the video last week, Letitia James, chief of staff, did this in New York as well. Went all the way back to 2014, drugging. He was being Diddy way back then. All right. So this is deep, and this is something that it's a New York thing, evidently, because Epstein was doing it, and they're gonna say he's the new version of Epstein. And if you guys know better, you really need to pay close attention to everything that goes on with these cases, because Jeffrey Epstein is linked to a lot of things. Like I had a video where I was talking with Saul a while back, and we were talking about the fact that Jeffrey Epstein's island had the same address as SpongeBob, and a lot of people didn't realize that. And it's something that you can really Google. You can go Google that right now, and you can find the island, the address to Jeffrey Epstein's island, and you can find SpongeBob's address, and it's the same address. That's how deep the manipulation goes. All right. Please make sure you subscribe to my Instagram page. We drop shorts over there. We drop a lot of videos over there. I want you guys to make sure that you are following the podcast on all platforms. So just in case something happens to YouTube, I just seen what they did to Legion of Men, and he was very popular on him. If you don't know who Legion of Men is, he's a men-centric content creator who creates a lot of content, and he does it for men, right? He's part of the red pill community, and he's a Caucasian brother, and they have demonetized his channel for no reason. I'm drinking Earl Grey tea. Love tea. They demonetized his channel though for invalid traffic, invalid clicks. And when he did everything he was supposed to do, appeal it and all that, they're giving him a hard time. Might be 90 days before he gets monetized again. So shout out to him. Make sure you go check out his channel. Make sure you go subscribe to him. Nobody wants to go through that. Like I said, once again, we're all content creators. We're all here to support each other. Nobody should feel more superior than the next person. We really need to be in this together, but unfortunately we're not. And we need to keep chugging on along, okay? But not to get off topic, this looks bad for Diddy. Gracias like a Kina. This looks bad for Diddy, and we're going to get back into it right now.
Wow. Why do I care what happened all the way back in 1999? Because that case is now being reopened, not necessarily for a prosecution. As you will recall, Sean Puffy Combs was acquitted in gun charges stemming out of that incident. But why do I care if it's reopened? For a lot of different reasons. And you're hearing that now a woman allegedly involved in that shooting, a nightclub shooting, is willing to have part of a bullet dug out of her face. You're seeing shots of Combs on Rolling Stone and Billboard, a guy of this ilk with a fortune this immense, who will be willing to speak out against him. With me, an all-star panel to make sense of what we know right now, but straight out to Kiela Brantley, investigative reporter, dailymail.com, who's on the story from the very beginning. If we're going all the way back to a 1999 incident, and that's the best day's work J-Lo, Jennifer Lopez, ever did, and man, she is a superstar, is getting rid of Sean Combs. That did it. She was a beautiful, talented, up-and-coming superstar making her way in the entertainment business. She gets tied up with Combs, and all of a sudden people are shot. 3 shooting victims, as I recall, at a nightclub in New York, and there she is hauled into the precinct. Bye-bye. Sadly, I don't think this case is going to end as quickly as that one did for Combs. Kiela Brantley, give me the latest.
So Diddy is acting, Nancy, like he is completely innocent. He came out with that statement saying he will fight to prove his innocence. And he's actually been out and about in Miami acting like he is a perfectly man. He was seen with his twin daughters golfing and then stopping by a restaurant and seen by fans. He put his signature L for brother love up to the camera. And then he was seen on a dock in Miami over the weekend, shirtless in white swimming trunks, acting as if he has no care in the world. So obviously here we're seeing somebody who hasn't taken fault for anything and will continue to fight to prove his innocence.
You know, has he heard about the shooting victim that's offered to have a bullet dug out of her face in order to be used against Sean Combs? I mean, because that would worry me if a person that was shot in the face by me or my hench people, and they want to have the bullet dug out now, all these years later. I got to ask myself, why? Why now? That doesn't concern
Well, I
him.
mean, he's had a raid on his home and on his two homes, and it seems like nothing has phased him so far. So much so as on Easter, he posted a photo for the first time of his young daughter, just with the caption "Happy Easter, baby love," and notably disabled the comments from that, and we can understand why.
Are you telling me that he's gone dead on his social? That's hard to believe.
Well, he did post the photo and again acts like nothing's wrong, but he doesn't.
He's posted more than that now. What he did the other day, what I saw him do, is he posted the victory video with him and Biggie right when Biggie passed. He posted that video. Now, if you ever seen that video, you'll see that it has basically a scene in it where Diddy is running from something or someone or some people, and he gets away. They don't catch him. So I don't know what his motivation was to post that. I don't know if that was a good move or a dumb move or whatever the case may be. I mean, in my opinion, it didn't look good. But like I just said, when Nancy Grace gets on you, it's a problem. Because she ain't, usually when she comes, she don't miss. Sorry. So we're going to continue on with this video. I'm not going to ramble through it. We're going to get back to it right now because it's a lot to go through.
Want any comments, you can imagine what kind of comments would be posted under that photo.
You know, also in the past days, his son has come out and demanded everyone, quote, stop the lying. I guess he thinks the feds are lying in all of their claims. Guys, you're seeing video that was given to us by our friend Harvey Levin over at TMZ. This is immediately after the search of one of Sean Puffy Combs' home. And you're looking at about, I don't know, maybe $100,000, $200,000 worth of sneakers alone. Running shoes. Yeah. That said, there's a lot of complaining that the feds, hey, you know you're in trouble when the feds roll up to your front yard in an armored vehicle wearing Kevlar. Now they're complaining they messed the place up. I'm surprised it wasn't more ransacked than that, looking for secret hidey holes, false walls.
Right. I've seen where the feds come through and they tear everything up. They were being nice right here. They were being nice. Look at this. You can get this reorganized. Let me take it back a little bit. You can get somebody to come reorganize all this, all these shoes, all that. Just throw them out the shoebox a little bit. I mean, yeah, we see it. We see it. But
Like complaining that
it's not like they're ruined.
Hey, you know you're in trouble when the feds roll up to your front yard in an armored vehicle wearing Kevlar. Now they're complaining they messed the place up. I'm surprised it wasn't more ransacked than that, looking for secret hidey holes, false walls, you name it. I remember a case I prosecuted where I had my invaluable dog witness. There was a fake wall in a drug lord's home, and the dog, my star witness, kept hitting on the wall, and there was nothing to see until they figured out it was a fake wall. And then behind the fake wall was a stash of well over $1 million worth of cocaine, automatic weapons. Bad. and this was about less than a mile from an elementary school. So I'm surprised Combs's home wasn't more torn up than what we're seeing. Now, speaking of what we are seeing from our friends over at TMZ, take a listen to this.
The Combs investigation is drawing comparisons to that of Jeffrey Epstein after Rodney Little Rod Jones' lawsuit was filed. Jones accuses Combs of sexually assaulting him and other victims on multiple occasions. Combs' yacht is also drawing comparisons to Jeffrey Epstein, as Combs is accused of luring victims onto a yacht he rents for trips to the Virgin Islands and sexually assaulting guests on the yacht.
With me, as I said, an all-star panel, and right now we're going to break it down. Nobody thought that Jeffrey Epstein would ever go to jail. Prince Andrew didn't. I'm not a Republican and I'm not a Democrat, but I can guarantee you when Clinton was taking a walk with Epstein in front of God and everybody, I bet he didn't ever think Epstein's going to jail. I bet all those high-powered politicos, royalty, you name it, never believed that their good friend Jeffrey Epstein.
Now, let me stop it right there. I'm going to go back. Take a look at this picture right here. Now, this is why he's drawing the comparison to Jeffrey Epstein, because he has a bottom B. He got somebody to do the dirty work for him. As you see, Epstein had Ghislaine. He has KK, aka Christina Cordum. And they got it up here at the top. Defendant Christina Cordum is the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs, Jeffrey Epstein. That ain't good company to keep, and it's I'm sure not a good person to be compared to. But let's continue.
You name it, never believed that their good friend Jeffrey Epstein would not only go to jail, but end up killing himself, according to reports, over sex claims. Is that what we're seeing now? I want the panel to hear this and jump in. To you, Nima Rahmani, joining me, former federal prosecutor, which is what I'm interested in right now. Also, the president of West Coast Trial Lawyers and high-profile trial attorney in that jurisdiction. Nima, think about it. Nobody ever thought Epstein would go down, right? But look at the comparisons. I'm very intrigued by the fact that they both used yachts. They both would travel into international waters to wrongfully do their deeds. Now, all of this amounts to allegations against Combs. Nothing has been proven. It has been proven against Epstein. Private planes, private yachts, taking them again into international waters outside the U.S. jurisdiction. That does not mean the long arm of the law cannot reach them. But their modes of travel, remember these so-called Lolita Express that Epstein used, and had a lot of high-profile politicians and stars on his plane that he would take to his private island. The homes that I find very interesting, Nima Rahmani, are in California, Florida, and New York and beyond. Why? Why is that apparently their choice of where these activities and nefarious activities are taking place? We got to examine that, Nima. What is interesting about that also is the use of hidden cameras. We believe, and according to a witness, is catching literally thousands of hours of what could be state's exhibit number 1. Jump in, Nima.
In the Epstein case, you have to give credit to the victims like Virginia Giuffre, who wouldn't let the story go after Alex Acosta gave him a sweetheart deal. And here, really, it started with Cassie Ventura, and then others have come forward. Now, we know that abusers, people that sexually abuse young women, they often use intermediaries or others to groom the victims. And obviously, we know about Ghislaine Maxwell, but here you have his chief of staff, Diddy's chief of staff, Christina Horam, who's alleged and named in Little Rod's lawsuit. And of course, he is really the impetus for, I think, these search warrants. He's the one that talked about these hidden cameras throughout the residences. He's the one who identified names of other rich and powerful people like Cuba Gooding Jr., who are allegedly involved in all this. So we know that Diddy had a lot of connections here in Los Angeles, where I will live, in Miami, in New York, business connections. And I wouldn't be surprised if these allegations are proven, Nancy, that there's other rich and famous people who are involved in this, much like Jeffrey Epstein.
Man, we never heard anything more about those so-called hidden cameras in Epstein's place. We never really heard everything in the little black book full of names and clients accordingly in Giselle Maxwell's possession. Will that be the same here? Is anybody actually going to prosecute Combs? Because we've heard a lot about searches and raids by home security investigators. Where's the charge? Because Nima, I was a Fed for 3 years, and you were Fed much longer than that. When the state moves on a search warrant, they've got you. They got you by the, let me think of a nice way to say it, by the short hairs. It's over. By the time they pull up on your block, it's done. You might as well start working on a guilty plea right then. So what's the holdup? Why are we hearing all about the raids and then there's no charge?
Oh, I think the indictment is happening any day now, Nancy. And you're right, times are changing. What was tolerated before, the Epstein's, R. Kelly's of the world, Weinstein's, you name it. I mean, they are going down. I mean, this is something that federal prosecutors are now taking very seriously. We know the Southern District of New York is quarterbacking. They're the best of the best. So they have probable cause at PC to get search warrants executed by a federal judge. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're presenting the case to the grand jury this week. Diddy may seem comfortable on social media and in the shorts and golfing, but he's likely going to be arrested in a matter of days, I believe.
All right, let's stop it right there. Because shout out to that attorney. Make sure you subscribe to my Facebook page. We're live right now on 3 places: Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. That way you can catch these live streams wherever you go across all major platforms. We're there. All right. But I believe that Diddy's going down and they're coming for him any day now. I believe they got the indictments typed up. They've already had the grand jury. They've already did everything they needed to do. That's why they hit him simultaneously in both houses, just to try to seal the deal. And we don't know what they found in there. But what we will know is, A, if Diddy doesn't go to jail, he cooperated. And that he has something very powerful in his back pocket. Because that's the only way that he can avoid this. Gracias like a quina. That's the only way that he can avoid any of this. And that's probably what's keeping him from doing the arrest now, because it's not like this is any average guy off the street. We're talking about a billionaire here. So again, all the T's got to be crossed and all the I's got to be dotted. Everything has to be on point. Everything. All right, guys. Across all 3 platforms right now, we got 14 people watching, right? I want all of you guys to make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that like button and make sure you tell somebody about this channel so that they can come check it out too. Don't be selfish. Share it with your friends. Let everybody know. All right. Now let's get back to it.
Leave it.
The investigation into sexual assault allegations against Sean Combs is bringing up similar details to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, where it was determined Epstein was aided in his abuse by his girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell. The Rodney Lil Rod Jones lawsuit alleges Sean Combs has an aide who plays a similar role to what Maxwell did for Epstein in helping procure potential victims for Combs. The Jones lawsuit further alleges There's evidence of the sexual assaults and sex trafficking as hidden cameras record everything throughout the Combs homes, which is why homes in LA and Miami were raided.
Guys, right now, is an indictment prepared and ready to take to a vote for a grand jury? With me an all-star panel, but I'm going to run right back to Nima Romani. This is how it works. We've all heard the phrase, you could get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. I don't know if that's true, but I can tell you this. Whoever is leading the grand jury, and I presented to a grand jury for months and months and months, you bring in typically one witness, if you can, one witness.
Listen to how she explains how the grand jury process works, right? Notice she said, "Hey, Lily, how are you doing? Thank you for coming through." Notice she said you can get the grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. How many of you think you got a chance going against a grand jury? If they literally said, then well, look, man, not to put my business out there, but I done had my fair share of troubles, right? But this is really what they say. They really do say you can literally get the grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. You literally can. They'll just do it. They don't even have to have any experience in law or anything. Okay, you want to, we'll sign the bill. Boom. Now, but what you need to do now is listen to what she says and listen to how she breaks down the process of how the grand jury goes about indicting someone. If they choose to indict this person, right? Let's get back to it. But I want everybody to pay attention to the process. So therefore, if you ever find yourself in trouble, you know how to attack it. But you won't be able to beat a grand jury because you'll never see them. Only your lawyer gets access to the paperwork.
Preferably the lead investigator, one witness, if you can, and months. Grand jury, and I presented to grand jury for months and months and months. You bring in typically one witness, if you can, one witness, preferably the lead investigator, and they give a recap to the grand jury, which typically, depending on the jurisdiction, is 20 to 40-ish people on the voter registration that live in that jurisdiction, i.e. that county or that district. They listen to the witness. They rarely ask questions. Sometimes they do. And then the witness leaves, bam, vote. That's called a true bill or an indictment. If they decide not to indict, which is probably at the request of the prosecutor, it's a no bill of indictment. Are you telling me, Nima Romani, you believe the indictment, the federal grand jury indictment, has already been drawn up, in other words, typed out with all the counts, and it's waiting for a grand jury presentment or vote or to be made public?
Oh, Nancy, I do. That indictment has been drafted. If you're the feds, you don't go into someone's home like Diddy unless you're ready to indict. And this is why. First of all, we saw that armed law enforcement presence. Violence may ensue. But from a legal perspective, from a case perspective, people may disappear, they may flee the jurisdiction, and evidence may be destroyed. Those search warrants are the final step of the investigation because when you're the feds, you have the luxury of waiting when you're conducting these proactive investigations. You're not reacting to law enforcement already arresting someone and you're stuck with the case. You have the luxury of making sure that all those witnesses are interviewed. Maybe they're put in front of the grand jury. You have all the counts and everything you need because once you execute that search warrant, you put your target on notice, and you don't want to do that until you're ready. And I believe the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York is ready right now to prosecute Sean Combs.
Guys, I want to show you. Oh, yeah, you're seeing a video given to us by our friend Harvey Levin at Team Z, and it's right after the search at one of Combs' residence. I'd like to see, Liz, the photo of one of the parties that Sean Combs threw. Sean, Puffy, okay, there's that one where everybody's partying, and the other one is
very important picture right here. Hold on. Now, look at his son right here in the photo. What are they doing? Taking shots. All right. I mean, come on, man. You just came from the farmer's market. What you buy, Lily? Do tell, do tell. I want to know what you're whipping up over there. I'm making a pasta here soon. That's my favorite thing to do. Go ahead and make that pasta. Tell us what you bought. Tell us what you bought. La cachina hablando finamente. Yeah. Yeah. We said a minute ago, where did he learn the behavior? It's important to know to understand, where did he get this mentality from? He's too young to be around things like this. And it's not that he doesn't know the difference between right or wrong. The male brain doesn't really mature until they're older. So a lot of the things he see go on with his father, he think is right. He think it's okay to do. You think it's the manly thing to do, and that's not how things work around here, son. And as you're finding out, yeah, you can be sued right along with your pops. So I hate to say it, but this don't look good. Look at you. Look at you. And once they play the next slide, it's gonna look even worse. Let's get back to
what I'm trying to get to. Yeah, there. Okay, hold it. Hold it. Where it says censored is a lady with no pants on, and that is her rear end and genitals right there in the party. Okay, but I don't care about that. The mirror you're seeing.
She cares about that. You know, they frown upon it. See the guy over here in the corner, tall guy standing up, throwing the dollar bills. The guy, he's throwing it on this lady who they have censored because she's busting it open and she ain't got on no panties, no nothing. Supposedly, she probably maybe she has a thong on and they can't tell, but they don't like this type thing because, again, this is a Diddy party. These are the type of things that go on in a Diddy party, and I don't think that this lady would be in here bent over busting it open if she wasn't a dancer. There's not too many women that just bust it open wide open and show their bare bottoms that aren't dancers nowadays. You know what I'm saying? And there aren't dudes that are in situations to be sitting here throwing money in the air if they're not used to going to strip club. Notice I said script. You know what I'm saying? Script. You know, so they know what's going on here. You can look at the scene and tell, and you can see dollar bills in the air. So they're making it rain, and white people don't like that, especially not the liberal people like Nancy Grace. No, they're not with that. Yeah, I just brought some Savoy, well, some spring onions, some green onions, and some tomatoes myself lately. We don't got a farmer's market here. We do, but it's too far away for me to be going. So I go to the Spanish store. They don't play about their food, so I make sure I get the best from them. But yeah, and almost a lot of people, parties that have money, wealth, fame, success, they do. This is what they do. All right, this is why these environments are not for people like me, because what they're about to do, they're about to point people out, and you're about to be on their little diagram, and they're going to be pointing fingers at you.
Thing them round the circular mirror, and there's a guy
Let me
right
take
below
it back.
it.
Let me take it back.
But I don't care about that. The mirror you're seeing, them round the circular mirror, and there's a guy right below it. Hench person. Just like Ghislaine Maxwell was a hench person for Epstein, this is Moy Bond. Moy Bond, if you'll see right here, we had to actually draw a diagram,
Bam.
a flow chart. So
Let's look at this. Look at this. Let me make myself smaller so you can see the diagram. Matter of fact, let's just do it like that. They got an organizational chart. They got everybody. They got everybody here, right? In the middle, you got Diddy, everybody that is attached to him. Ethiopia, who works for Universal Music Group. Lucian Grain, Sir Lucian. You know, that's basically her boss. He's the one that's being sued by Lil Rod, saying that he is the financier of Diddy, right? He's the financier of Diddy because he's paying Diddy, right? And Diddy is taking the funds and, you know, paying the goons basically to do all these things, right? Then you got KK, Christina Koran, who procures the women, and she sends the orders down here through Justin Combs and Moy Bond, the lady that she was just talking about, right? Then you got Brendan Paul, the guy who supposedly is the trapper down there in Florida. Man, they got it all laid out. Then you got another guy named Frankie who's supposed to hold all the bread. He holds all the money. Then you got the head of security, the guy that was in the room with Michael Jackson when he passed away, who now works for Diddy. Right? Yeah. Uh-huh. Then on the other side over here, they are trying to say that Young Miami basically is working for and receives direction from Justin Combs and Moy Bond, along with 50's baby mama Daphne Joy. Like I said, when Nancy Grace gets on you, she gets on you. And I don't see it slacking up no time soon. And this is why I think he's going to be indicted. Right there. What will happen to the next generation if this is what they seen online? Tells me, yeah, exactly. This is the lifestyle of what people want to live, Lily. This is the lifestyle. So you see what a lot of guys are trying to escape from, because a lot of the women who are in search of the rich guys, they end up in situations like this. And then when things don't go their way, then they sue the rich guy. So that's why they only want to deal with the guy with the money, right? See, we got the people here like the Young Miamis. Thank you for your comment. We got the people like her, Young Miami, and the Daphne Joyce that only deal with the top tier dudes, right? Everyone else on here is a worker of some kind, right? But these people down here at the bottom, they're labeled S workers. They're not, I don't really want to call them S workers, but they're out here having sex for money. S for money, put it that way. That don't mean they're an S worker, but you get the picture, right? Yeah. But they got them. Whole diagram. Let's get back to the video. Man.
to speak, of all the people connected to this case. And there he is on your bottom right, Moy Bond. You think he's not rolling over right now? To Robert Crispin joining me, former federal task force officer for U.S. DOJ, that's Department of Justice, with the DEA in the Miami Field Division. Never a lack of business there. Former homicide and crimes against children investigator, now at CrispinInvestigations.com. Robert, one question for now. You think all the people we just showed on that flow chart aren't begging to sing for a plea deal? I mean, I'd have my lawyer on the phone yesterday working a deal so I wouldn't spend the next 50 years in the penitentiary.
listen, they know it's coming, and they're trying to get the best seat in the house, and they're going to these prosecutors saying, what can I give you? Let's sit down, let's talk, because those chairs are going to fill up really fast once this thing starts to unwind and once people start getting arrested. But if I can back up just 2 seconds about that search warrant, I'm not real sure that indictment is going to come out this quickly, because there's a lot of electronics that were taken. And I will tell you, from doing multiple federal search warrants and taking a lot of electronic devices, that stuff takes time to go through systematically. You got to retrieve data that's been deleted. And ironically, the hidden cameras that were in Diddy's house are probably going to be the same cameras that are going to sink him.
Hey, Crispin, you think the feds haven't done everything you just said except the cameras? Because if they'd gotten the cameras, Combs, I know you're on a first name basis with Sean P. Combs, but that said, I'm not. Combs and his staff would know if those cameras had been seized off a yacht or at his locations where he lives, his domiciles. We don't know that yet, but everything you just talked about, I guarantee you the feds have done. I would not be surprised if they haven't been wiretapping him. I mean, they go all the way, Crispin, as you well know from your prior investigations. And I'm telling you, they would not have made a public raid, a simultaneous raid with assault weapons if they were not ready on their indictment. Those raids were used to support the indictment they've already drawn up. When I say drawn up, it's because you, a person, writes out the indictment. They may then later type it, but you write out the charges you think you can prove, and then you support it with the evidence. I guarantee you they've got the indictment ready to go. They're either waiting on a vote, or they've already had a grand jury vote and they're waiting to go public. That's what I think is happening. Now, what is the fallout? How is Combs behaving? Because a jury could take into account what occurred before, during, and after. To Dr. John Delatorre joining me, a psychologist, mediator, specializing in forensic psychology, a witch hunt. That's what always happens. When you have the crap coming at you, what do? You put it in a ball and you throw it back like a snowball at whoever threw it to start with. That's what's happening here. Witch hunt, it's like focus off all the evidence and focus on me. I'm being persecuted. That's what that is.
Yeah, that's 100% what that is. And that's part of being that's part of the motif, right? The thematic elements that it means to be an abuser. Is making the other person, the victims or whoever it is that's coming after you, making them the villains, because in your mind, you haven't done anything wrong. Now, we don't know how he is actually responding when there aren't cameras around. I'm pretty sure he's furious and contacting his attorney about getting this thing fixed, because in his mind, he's been able to get away with this for so long that he's forgotten that all of this stuff is abusive. He's forgotten all that stuff is unlawful. He doesn't care that all of this stuff has hurt so many people, and he's contributed to so many further abuses of individuals who.
Let me stop it right there. As I just said, okay, make sure hey guys, make sure you go over there and subscribe to the Lily Tate channel. Go over there and support her and help her build up her studio fund. We're still supporting Lily. She's still over there trying to get everything together so she can have the best studio that it is. All right. Please make sure you subscribe to the Lily Tate channel. It's very important that we support each other. As I said a minute ago, there are rules to the game. Listen clearly. Okay. There are rules to the game. You cannot break them. Once you go through and do what you do for so long, it eventually catches up to you. I don't care how much you run up the tab, how much money you make in the process. None of that. Money don't mean nothing when it comes down to who you are as a person. My integrity is more valuable than a dollar bill. All right. There you go. Gracias like Aquino. Make sure you subscribe to the Little Bit of Take channel. The link is in the comments, guys. All right. But you have to play the game by the rules. You can't do this and think that you're never going to get caught or you're never going to have your day, because everybody gets it. Some more quicker than others. And like I said, the only way I can see this man getting out of this is if he cooperates and gives them something so powerful they can't do nothing to him, to make him pay a fine. Or they just don't find anything. But he still has a lot of lawsuits that he'll probably settle out of court on. So this looks bad. Let's get back to the video. I'm not going to ramble.
Who probably already been abused in their lives. He didn't care about any of that stuff. The only thing he ever cared about was himself and what he could get from other people.
Oh, yeah. You know, we all have stories. Seriously, we all have stories. Mine
Instagram.
is horrific, and only 5 people know it. And I probably will never tell it. But it's since then I've been like, yep. And I also am very intimately aware that you tell your truth and you become victimized over and over and over and over and over and over. And mind you, I then interviewed him many times. I have a lot of stories, y'all. I've been in Hollywood for 25 years, maybe longer, 30. I got a lot of stories. Unfortunately, maybe I'll write a book one day, but it just is so traumatizing that women just want to live every day and feel safe. And when we revisit and revisit, we live in a state of victimhood, and nobody wants to live there. So for those of you like, why didn't you say something then? Because we just want to live. We want to be happy. And we really want to forget the trauma. So there's that.
You are hearing Tamika Ray, former backup dancer for Sean Combs, on Instagram. She states, I'll probably never tell this. Maybe I'll write a book. Well, how about to a grand jury? Because I would sure like to find out what she is talking about that was so upsetting and traumatizing that, frankly, right now, she can't even talk about it. She just wants to live her life and be happy. What happened? What does she know? What does everybody around Sean Combs know that they don't want to say? In a career that has been marked by murder, untimely deaths, and prison, now, finally, are we at the point where a grand jury indictment is going to be handed down? If you saw him in the last few days, you'd think Sean Puffy P Diddy Combs has not a care in the world. I don't know if that's true. Joining me, Kiela Brantley, investigative reporter, dailymail.com. But first, to Shannon Henry, president and founder of SASS, SASS, Surviving Assault Standing Strong, a nonprofit whose mission is to eradicate sex trafficking and violence against women and girls globally. Shannon Henry, I know that a lot of times SASS, your group, deals with pimps, sex trafficking, massage parlors, nail parlors, where you unearth the dregs of society taking advantage of underage girls and women that can't speak for themselves. I guess it's pretty rare that you get a media and music mogul, literally a music icon, in your crosshairs. But what can you tell us about prior incidents? We're mentioning untimely deaths, shooting, prison. What?
So, sure, Nancy, thank you. It's, we've worked with 20,000 women on 4 different continents. And when you're looking at the playbook, whether it's Epstein or Cosby or anyone else, there are certain criteria that they hit. Now, we know that with Sean, things have been riddled with violence, with grooming, with intimidation, physical violence, guns, pornography, underage girls, like you said, promises, sexual violence and abuse, emotional abuse, and his circle of croonies, who I call his bodyguards, that he pays off to keep everything quiet and intimidate other people in order to maintain control. But we do know about 2 incidents that have occurred also where there have been shootings, whether it was at the nightclub or it was at the recording studio. It just seems like no matter where he is, New York, LA, the Virgin Islands, Miami, whether he's on a yacht or he's in a car or he's at the studio, bad things happen when he's around.
The photos we're seeing right now, apparently, we're seeing blood and evidence of some sort of a struggle. Does that have something to do with his son, Justin's friend?
It does. They call him Mr.
What
G
happened?
inside. Sure. So there was an argument. This is all according to Little Rod, and it was in his court documents. When all of this came to be, he was sitting about 2 feet from the incident. He heard yelling. Sean and his son were in a room along with Mr. G. And then when they came out, it was clear that there was blood. He heard the gunshots. He was afraid for his own life, tried to help, according to the documents, and was told not to. This man was bleeding from several areas in his body. The police were called to come in and help, but the ambulance stayed several blocks away, according to the documents again, because they were worried about an active shooter, because they were told that this was a drive-by.
Guys, I want you to take a listen to Aubrey O'Day, Uncle Luke, and Cat Williams speaking out. Listen.
I wasn't willing to do what was expected of me. Not talent-wise, but in other areas.
So what was expected of her? You're hearing Aubrey O'Day of Making the Band 3. Keller Brantley, what is she talking about? I wasn't willing to do what was expected of me, not talent-wise, but other areas.
Well, now with these allegations, you can infer that it was likely something sexual. And like Aubrey O'Day and like Tanique Garay, these are stories that you're probably going to hear a lot more of. People are going to come out with their own stories of Diddy. And it's very interesting because that does remind me of Jeffrey Epstein. And it does remind me of Harvey Weinstein, in that this was all just an open secret that.
Right. Let me stop it right there. Once Diddy settled that first lawsuit with Cassie, we knew that lots of other people were going to start coming forward with their own claims against the man. It's natural. One person gets paid, and other people want to get paid, right? Especially in New York, they have that act that gives them a certain amount of time to file so they can get this heard in front of a judge, right? Now, if I was Diddy, I'd settle all of them. It doesn't mean you're admitting to guilt, but you want to get it on out the way. You want to get it out the way. All right? But just like she said, other people are coming forward who are growing and getting more confident and getting the courage to speak up. All right. This does not look good. Like I said, once Nancy Grace gets on you, oof, it's hard to shake her off, man. Hard. Let's get back to it because we're almost about to finish this video.
In these Hollywood elite circles, people knew of this behavior, but of course there's intimidation tactics. Of course, there's alleged blackmail. So we will likely hear many more stories, but it just depends if these people are willing to come forward when it matters most.
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher. I'm signed to Usher. I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full crazy. We're going crazy.
You were saying as a young boy, Justin Bieber with Combs. That is from Combs' YouTube channel. What would be a 15-year-old boy's dream that he's talking about? I'm not sure I want to know that right now. But I want to focus on what we're hearing. Kayla Brantley joining us from dailymail.com. In the last 48 hours, 50 Cent, 50, has gone crazy on social media. Why?
So 50 Cent's ex, Daphne Joy, they share a 12-year-old son together. She was named in the Little Rod lawsuit as a sex worker for Diddy. And 50 Cent, they are not on good terms. He has been trolling Diddy since this began. And now he's come out hitting out against his ex, Daphne Joy, which she has completely denied. So now even more players are getting involved.
I'm just wondering, Nima Romani, all the people that say they're not willing to speak out. For instance, the one backup singer who says she doesn't want to talk about it. Not that I blame her. But these are people that are going to get called to grand jury because they're out there. They're putting it on social media. That's low-hanging fruit for the feds.
Oh, there's no question they're going to get grand jury subpoenas, and whether they want to or not, they're going to have to testify. So obviously, if you're a prosecutor, you want to be sensitive to a victim of sex abuse, and to the extent that you don't need them, maybe.
A lot of these people are doing this stuff for attention. Let me stop it right there for a second. Like the former backup dancer. Now, I'm not saying nothing didn't happen to her, but she didn't have to get on Instagram and make that post unless she wanted to be heard and seen. Everyone has an ulterior motive, and we got to understand these things. Because what are you going to do? You're going to tell the grand jury no? If they subpoena you, you can't do that. They're going to lock you up. She wants to say something. She wants the attention. She used to be a backup dancer. She's probably not making no money anymore. Nobody's hiring her. So now the only way that she can make any money or get paid is by speaking up against Diddy. So just like he just said, the post is just putting it out there that I know something. Basically, call me. I mean, they already know her name. Nancy Grace knows her whole full name. And I saw this post on Instagram and kept scrolling. Because it's just gets to the point where it's like, Jesus Christ, another one, another one, another one. Oh my God. There's only so much negativity you could take, right? And, you know, but yeah, they're gonna call. She did that. They're gonna call her. They're definitely gonna call her to the grand jury. She wanted to be called.
You don't put them in front of a trial jury. But a grand jury is a secret proceeding, meeting with prosecutors. Those meetings happen behind closed doors. So that's going to happen whether the victim wants to or not.
You know, a lot of people rail Nima Romani against, quote, secret grand jury proceedings. There's nothing at all unconstitutional about a secret grand jury proceeding. Hearsay is allowed in grand jury proceedings. As you just correctly pointed out, hearsay is not allowed in front of a petit jury, which is a jury of 12 or a smaller petite jury. And the rules of evidence come into play. They're not in play at a grand jury. So what happens at the grand jury may remain secret forever, although at some point the defense has access to the grand jury transcript so they can see who, what, where, why, when occurred in the grand jury proceedings. I want you to now listen to Uncle Luke on We in Miami.
She party with Diddy a lot?
Oh, no, not really. I would go to the party and leave early. I don't know what goes on after hours, but
he wasn't trying to find out.
I wasn't trying to find out.
Does anybody on this panel believe that? What about it, Delatory? There you've got Uncle Luke on We in Miami who's partying with Diddy and goes, well, you know, I leave early and I go home and read a book. BS. Nobody left early. Did you see those party pictures? Nobody's leaving.
Yeah,
that's what I call
it certainly
a
doesn't
witness.
look like. Yeah, it doesn't look like anybody's leaving early. Although I can kind of see sort of part of where this joke is, where it's an open secret, where they're starting to say, listen, I already know that this guy's a bad guy. I don't want to be lumped in with all of this stuff. So I'm just going to keep my mouth closed. I'm going to keep my eyes closed. I'm not going to say anything. Because in some instances, there might be retribution to be paid if you started saying things out of turn. maybe not now, but certainly back then when Diddy still had some power and influence and can do these kinds of things. We see violence and shooting is not outside of Diddy's realm. So it's certainly possible that some of these people are saying this kind of stuff in order to keep themselves safe.
Gelatori, I don't know what you're saying. When Combs did have power and influence, he's got power and influence right now. He's estimated worth is over $1 billion. And everyone seemingly is afraid to speak out. You've got these lawsuits, which really crack the case wide open. But this is a guy who has an empire, a clothing line, a liquor line, founder of Bad Boy Records.
Now somebody needs to update her that he no longer has a liquor line. That's gone. Tried to sue him, settle out of court. No more Ciroc, no more De Leon. All that is gone. All right. He still has the record company. Got the clothing line. Not really doing too good, but he still has it. And he no longer has shares in Revolt TV either. So this is old. Which usually, they find out on the back end that they embarrass themselves by talking about old data, old information, but you know how it goes.
Millions and millions of dollars of property holdings. Although I read Keller Brantley this weekend, he is up to his neck in hot to over $100 million on all of his properties around the world. What do you know?
So dailymail.com revealed that he actually took out 8 mortgages for his 3 properties, one in Los Angeles, which was raided, and his 2 side-by-side mansions in Miami, which were also raided. Now he's owes over $140 million is what he took out, and he still owes $100 million on them roughly. And these have to be paid out within the next few years, if not from now until the next 10 years. And obviously now he's up to his neck in legal fees that he will be having to pay soon. So unclear what he's going to do about that, but he is allegedly a billionaire, but we'll see when the time comes.
A lot has been made about trafficking allegations in the last 48 hours. Sean Puffy Combs, aka Diddy, seems to be unaffected. This is what I would do right now, Nima Rahmani, if I were prosecuting this case. If they haven't already done it, and I imagine that they have, I would get the hench person who is allegedly Moy Bond, the hench person and the drug mule, one of Combs's alleged drug mules. I would get the 2 of them, and I would get them in a room, not together, of course, and I would offer them a deal in order to get testimony and eyewitness accounts of anything and everything they could tell me. What about it, Nima? You're gonna have to have. I mean, Combs has already walked. He was acquitted on guns charges, right? He has tremendous popularity with the jury. You have to have eyewitness, credible eyewitness testimony to back up your evidence if you want to win this case. Corroboration.
Well, Nancy, that's exactly how you prosecute any criminal enterprise. You flip the lower level people and you work your way up the organization. And that graphic was there. And so we know the alleged drug mule, Paul, he has to safety valve, which means he has to proffer truthfully. Otherwise, he's looking at a mandatory minimum sentence. Obviously, Bond, if you're caught up in sex trafficking, a conspiracy to sex traffic minors or produce child pornography, you're looking at 10 or 15-year mandatory minimum sentences, and the only way he's going to get out from that is if he cooperates. So you're right, Nancy. Jurors love celebrities, and he's got a very good lawyer, Aaron Dyer. I used to work with him. He's a former AUSA, so he's not going to take any type of deal. So if you're going to prosecute this case as the feds, you got to make sure you flip all those other individuals and make them testify against your real target, and that's Sean Combs.
While Sean Combs' estates were being raided, sons King Combs and Justin Combs were detained during the raids. And now King Combs is speaking out about his detainment and the sex assault scandal engulfing his father on Instagram, saying, "Stop with the cap," which is slang for quit lying. The post is apparently in response to allegations about his father, but the somewhat cryptic message might also be directed at Sean Combs' accusers.
I'll pick up with what the state can make of that in closing arguments. But now to Kayla Brantley, investigative reporter joining us from dailymail.com. Kayla, we're talking about grand jury proceedings, which I believe have probably already taken place. But if they haven't, who is the single witness you believe the state will call to testify in front of a grand jury?
I think the best witness here would be Cassie. She was his girlfriend for 10 years with obvious intimate knowledge of how he works, all the ins and outs. They must have lived together. And she really was the catalyst that really set all of this out. Once she filed her lawsuit, it was then that 3 other women came forward, that Lil Rod came forward, who would also make an excellent, excellent witness. So if I had to pick one, I would say Cassie's the way to go.
Guys, it's Kayla Brantley joining us, investigative reporter, dailymail.com. Shannon Henry joining us, president and founder of Surviving Assault, Standing Strong. Weigh in, Shannon.
I also want people to understand that these people that are coming forward are so extremely brave. There is no promise on the return of their disclosure. They're risking everything, their reputation, their career, their assets, their sleep, their family, their friends. Everything hangs in the balance. And that I hope that when it does come down to that moment where these people are able to be heard and their voices are able to be listened to, that the things that often people use against survivors, things like drug and alcohol use, which is a coping mechanism, not necessarily a healthy one, but it is a coping mechanism. And their gaps in recall, which just proves that they were trying to survive something really traumatic and logic was shut down in that moment. I hope that all of this will be used, not only to honor these people for what they've done and how they've come forward, but to prove the guilty party is Diddy and the croonies that he surrounded himself with.
Shannon Henry, we've been talking about responses from Combs's camp. We've been talking about potential grand juror witnesses. But I think one thing that's gotten lost in the sauce is what sex attack victims go through when you're essentially coerced. You may not be beaten, but you're coerced into unwanted sex acts. Many women never make a comeback from that. Like you heard the one woman earlier saying she can't even talk about it. She doesn't want to remember it because she's trying to be happy. And you know what I hate, Shannon? I hate when somebody out of the blue brings up to me my fiance's murder. I hate that. Why? Because I can be having a perfectly happy day with my 2 children that I have now that I thought I would never have. And then suddenly it's like somebody throws a bucket of ice cold water right in my face. It reminds me of one of the worst things that has ever happened to me. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to remember it. It's so traumatic. Explain it. You may be on a yacht. You may be given a whole bunch of money, and but it doesn't take away what you were forced to do.
It doesn't take it away, and our bodies immediately go back and access the smells, the sights, the sounds from that moment. And then our physical response happens where we feel like we need to run or fight or hide. And so for these victims that are now going through all of this so publicly, this is what they're experiencing on a daily basis.
We wait as the investigation into Sean Puffy Combs, aka P Diddy, unfolds. But right now we pause and we remember an American hero, Chief Deputy.
All right, let's stop it right here. So, guys, what do you think? Do you think they're going to indict him? I do. The way Nancy and the other former prosecutors have explained, it's over. All right. But what do you think? Leave your comments down below. Remember, make sure you subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. And also, don't forget to support the channel. Cash App is below. All right. But leave your comments on what you think is going to happen with Diddy. We'll be back on here next week, same time, same channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, if you're watching this on the replay, please hit the like button. you're watching this live right now, please hit the like button. It invites more nomadic mindseted people in just like you. Thank you for everybody that tuned in. Had a great show tonight. We'll be back next week with another one. Peace.